here we go. Another episode of Tech on Ice. All right, a little bit of warning. I think this might need to be a couple of videos. I've been thinking through like this idea for a bit now, and I can't imagine it taking like 5 or 6 minutes. But we'll try, and if there's a need for a part two or a part three or a part 100, we'll do that. A little bit of backstory. I've been working on a conference talk. I've talked about doing conference talks, so watch the video from when I did that. Um, but potentially the conference talk around like why being a developer is so hard. This is a rubber duck, by the way. This is a temperature gauge. Um, why, um, why, like being a developer is so hard today, um, because of the tool sprawl and all the different choices we have to make and all the responsibilities we have now. Because I can back if you went down the traditional path in tech, where you like went to university or you went to college, you more than likely had a professor that was probably in their 60s, at the time. So they had like started building computers, working with computers in the 60s and 70s, and maybe early 80s. And building and doing stuff with computers and technology was substantially different back then than it is today, obviously. And you hear the story about, walking uphill in the snow both ways to the computer lab so they can submit their program, and they have to come back because there was, one computer and could only process a program one at a time, and you just have to come back a couple days later and get the results. And you would either find out there, or then if your program compiled, or if your program didn't, and then you had to fix it. So like the only thing that you really fought with, if you were a developer back then, was time, obviously, because build and compilation took so long, and waiting in general, and your code. Those are the only things you had to fight. So not to make it sound anything other than it is, substantially more simple than it is today, right? Because we think about what are the things that developers have to worry about today. Obviously, we have to fight our code. We also have to fight frameworks. We have to fight language choices. We have to fight the tools. We have to fight styling. We have to fight industry telling us what is and what is not the most important trend in tech that we should be doing, right? And thinking about this more and more about like, sometimes I would be curious to go back to what it was when, you would write a program and then it would just build and compile, and you would know if it worked or it didn't work, and you moved on with your life. Because sometimes, and this has happened to me, and I imagine this has happened to a lot of you folks, where I spend hours just trying to like set up my environment, get the tools to work, get a package from npm that looks really good, and then I actually, npm install it, and I get some weird error message, and then I go to the GitHub repo and can tell there hasn't been any contributions to that GitHub repo in a long time. So it's kind of like an abandoned project, so to speak, or somebody who wasn't expecting people to actually use the code they wrote. And sometimes it's super frustrating. I talk to people in tech. I talk to people who are getting started in tech, and they ask me like, "Oh, what's it like?" I like talk to college kids or like junior level, and I'm like, "What's it like being in tech for a long time?" And my response is, you have to put up with a lot of pain, right? There's the pain of just getting stuff to work, and the pain of your program building, and the pain of trying to fix bugs and all of that sort of stuff. And when everything works, like the stars align, Mercury's in retrograde, whatever, and then everything works, and your program compiles, your build compiles, and you see your results, and it's the results that you want, and that powers you through like all of the stuff, like everything that you have to worry about. Because I joke about this a lot. Like, I think developers to an extent are kind of like masochists. Like they like a little bit of pain because the pleasure is like worth the pain, right? So it's pretty interesting to me how we've gotten to the point where we can put up with all of this, right? I mean, I don't know a lot about the history of being a developer. Like, I know at a high level, like, you know, there was assembler, and then there was mainframe sort of stuff, so COBOL, Fortran, And then C came along, and then there's more object-oriented stuff, and then Java came out, blah blah blah. And now we're at this point where there's 10 to 15 like very popular languages that are used. Not to mention all the tools. And I just looked at the clock, and I think we're going to wrap this up, and we'll talk about kind of the tool choices we have to make as developers and how it's just completely insane. We'll do that in another episode. But if you like this kind of thing, I'm trying this multi-part series thing. If you like it, comment down below. Tell me you're excited to see the next one. Share with your friends. Like, subscribe, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care.